Are following along in the regular order that I've provided in the roadmap. This is probably the second video after things have been installed, but if you remember from the installation, it showed like there was 47 or 49 packages to be updated, and you're probably going to see something a little bit different. That's because I was already in here, I did some updates, and well, don't ask what happened to the video. Anyway, so I'm going to do an update again, but it's actually going to cover a couple of extra things. I think by doing the second recording, it'll probably help. Okay, number one, in order to do an update, you do need to be logged in. So I'm going to log in with my regular username and my password. Okay, and when you log in, you'll see there's a couple of things that are showing up. First of all, this line right here, normally this shows up, but there's no guarantee it's going to. In fact, I can see there's a couple of new funny things. But this one right here, usually when you log in, it'll tell you how many updates can be installed immediately. Okay, and you can see right now that there's 12 of them. So I will show you how to go through the installation. If you are very observant, you may notice something weird kind of happened up here in my IPv4 addresses. I've actually got two, and that was something, if you read through the static IP config, you can see how you can set up two IP addresses for the same network adapter if that's something you want. Okay, but anyways, that's for a different video. So right now, the actual update. Okay, so there's the package, or sorry, the program that's used for doing software updates is called apt. Okay, and this is what Ubuntu is using for doing all of its package installations, removals, and upgrades. Okay, and there are two particular commands that we're going to see today. One is called update, the other is called upgrade. Now, there's a couple of others that I use on a regular basis called auto remove. Sometimes I also use search and maybe even on list, but search I do use quite a bit, and the update and upgrade are the two that we're going to look at today. Okay, so first of all, everything has to be done, of course, as a super user. So I'm going to log in and I'm going to become the super user. Okay, and I'll give myself an interactive shell, and like you're going to see me do a lot of other times, you can always type sudo apt upgrade or update. That'll be the same thing as typing sudo-i once. Okay, all right, so now we know that there are 12 things that need to be updated, and you can see to see these additional updates, run apt list upgradable, and this will provide you a list of all the things that could be updated at the moment. So it looks like AP port, bash cloud init, less OpenVM tools, Python 3 app port. All of these things can be updated from, well, different versions to different versions. So you can read here, so from 20.04, 21, all upgradable from 04.19. Okay, now in order to do the upgrades, if you do a search online about how to upgrade packages on Ubuntu, you're going to find a lot of people will first of all recommend that you start by typing the command apt update. Okay, and yes, this is part of something, but you have to be careful about what this does. So take a look up here. The actual description says the update updates the list of available packages. So what this is, sometimes new packages will appear inside a repository and you won't have access to them unless you type apt update. Now, chances are, if you're only doing an upgrade, you actually don't need to do this very often, but there seems to be lots of advice saying, well, just always do it. It only takes a few extra minutes. So that's fine. You can do this. Okay, I will show you what it looks like. What it does, it goes off to the local archive, and it gets a list of all of the packages that are available. Now, will this ever, well, will it fail my upgrade if I forget to do this update? And most of the time it does not. In fact, I'll be honest, I don't type update very often. It only happens if I know that there's a new package that I need to get installed, or some updated package depends on some other package which is new. Okay, all right, so the update Uh, Normally it looks like this. There's no prompting. It simply goes through, it gets a list of everything, and it builds up a brand new list. Now, once you've done this, the next thing is to actually run the upgrade. The upgrade itself is the thing that goes off and does the individual package upgrades. And what it says here that the following packages will be updated. And of course, these are exactly the packages that were listed up here in the list upgradable. So I'll be honest again. I very rarely type apt list upgradable. Most of the time I type apt upgrade, apt upgrade, and I take a look at the list of things, and because it always gives me the option here if you want to continue. Okay, so it says that it needs to download a bunch of stuff, and it's going to take some hard drive space, and is it okay? And the answer is yes, it certainly is okay. All right, so let's go off and let this thing do its business. So it's going to download, and then it's going to go through the process of updating everything. Okay, now I will explain while this is going. If you do a search online for Ubuntu, you're going to find lots of people advising the type apt-get upgrade. Okay, and you might wonder, well, what's the difference? Well, yes, there are two slightly different versions of the package manager. APT is kind of the current version, and well, that's good because it saves you a little bit of typing. All right, and likewise, if you find people out there suggesting that you have to type sudo apt upgrade, that just simply means that they were not logged in as root. Okay, so you can certainly type that, that's fine, or you can do the approach where I just did, which was to become the super user first with the -i in front of sudo, or after sudo, followed by the upgrade. Okay, so of course, depending on how many packages need to be upgraded, this could take anywhere between a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds to a couple of minutes. Okay, so usually about, okay, so we're almost done. Okay, it is finally finished, and as long as everything went well, it's everybody's quite happy. Now, there's a couple of things that I'm going to try, and unfortunately I don't know whether or not we're going to see anything. Because it depends on which things get updated. And I have a feeling that I'm going to have to record another video a little bit later to do some further demonstrations. All right, so here's the first thing that I always type. As soon as I'm finished, I type apt upgrade again to see if there's any further things that it's complaining about. Okay, now usually the thing that I will see is when some old kernels have been swapped out, it may actually say that the following things are no longer needed, and it'll give you a command to type to remove them. So that's one thing. I don't see anything here. It looks like the upgrade is completely finished. The second thing that I need to know is whether or not I need to reboot this computer. And the way how I check this is I list out the contents of var run. All right, and what I'm looking for in this list of files is a file called reboot required. And if I see reboot required, then I know that I actually need to reboot the machine. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to very quickly switch over to another machine so that you can see what this looks like. I've got to think if I've got a machine that's pending an update. Okay, so I'm going to cut that out, and I will show you the working computer in a second. Okay, so I am now logged into a different server that I use at the office. All right, and if you do a couple of checks in here, let me type apt upgrade and see what the list says. This one here says, yes, there's a couple of things that need to be done, okay, but I'm not going to actually go ahead with this one because I usually do these updates on a certain day of the week, but there's a couple of things that are popping up. Okay, number one, perfect, so this is excellent. I don't actually need to go through and do this anymore. Okay, so you know what, you're going to watch me do an extra update. Okay, so first of all, it says here that the following package was automatically installed and is no longer required. It's liblvm9, and it says use apt auto remove to remove it. So I'm not going to continue at the moment. Okay, instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to apt auto remove everything. Okay, and well, hopefully that will end up getting cleaned up. So update. Oh, cut. Okay, welcome to the next little part. Sorry, it just took me a few seconds to get logged in. I didn't want to bother you with watching me try to get logged into another system. But this is my system, or one of the systems that I have at work, and I wanted to come in and I wanted to look at a couple of things to see whether or not any of the packages need to be removed and whether or not any packages need to be whether or not this computer needs a reboot. Okay, so the first thing up is an apt upgrade, and let's actually take a look at this and see what it says. Okay, so surprisingly, there is something in here that needs to be done. The following new packages will be installed. So if I go ahead and run an upgrade at the moment on this server, this liblvm10 will be installed, and a bunch of packages will also be updated. So I will go ahead and let this thing run again. So sorry, it's a second view of this. And of course, well, I have different things in here. For example, you can see some stuff for MESAs. I was experimenting with some video card stuff. I also have LDAP on this particular machine. So yeah, there's a lot of different packages. So depending, if you've got two different machines with two different sets of packages, you run the update in the same day at the same time, you might actually see very, very different behaviors. Okay, but now there's an interesting little catch in there. If you saw something, I will bring it back in a few seconds. So, okay, this is one of these things. I will probably speed this up so it doesn't take quite so long. Okay, so that's finished. That was a couple of minutes. Okay, so I trimmed it down hopefully just to a few seconds. Okay, but so this update is being done. Now, normally I don't do these updates on this particular day of the week. So the day's a Saturday. I usually do all my updates on a Friday morning. And because usually people are expecting this machine to be sort of available without interruption on a Saturday. So usually I tend not to do upgrades, but I know that everything is kind of calm at the moment, so I can get away with this. Now, here's the interesting thing. If I type apt upgrade again, you'll see a small message, and that is the message says that the following package was automatically installed. So it was installed before. It's liblvm9. And of course, if you were paying attention to the installation, you would have seen that version 10 was installed. And what it's suggesting that you can do is if you want to remove this, you can say apt auto remove. And what this will do is it'll remove all of the packages and free up the space that's being taken by this package. So it'll say after this operation, you'll have almost 70 megabytes worth of free space available, or sorry, 70 megabytes of additional free space. Okay, so you can see now it's done. And if I do an apt upgrade again, it says there's absolutely nothing left to be done. So usually I run apt upgrade until I see this message here, which is what happened the other time. Now, the other one, which I'm not going to do today, is let's take a look and see whether or not a reboot's required. So what I do is I list out the contents of var run, and you can see that there's a file in here, sorry, I can't get my mouse right over top of it, called reboot required. Okay, and what this is, if this file exists, this means that a reboot is actually required in order for the most recent changes to be completed. So if you see this command, what you would do is, well, providing it's a good time, then you would simply type the command reboot and press enter. Now, as promised, I'm not going to reboot this machine right now because people could actually be in the middle of doing some work. So I'm going to leave this one alone, and I'm going to, of course, mark down a reminder to myself that maybe tomorrow morning or Monday morning I'll have to go in and actually reboot this machine. Okay, at some point when I know that it's not going to be busy. Okay, so that is that's the update, and that's also a quick demonstration of the auto remove, which was very, very nice, and it also shows you how to deal with a reboot. So now I don't have to try and remember to record another video. All right, so that's some basic installations. All right, I believe that the next video that's going to appear in the sequence is how to get yourself set up for a static IP address, which can be a little bit tricky depending on which version of Ubuntu, but if you've got a fresh installation of Ubuntu 20, it turns out it's pretty easy. Okay, so catch you in the next video.